the monetary aspect sometimes does not carry the weight that some employers think. So there can be a disgruntled employee maybe, and management may think, oh, well, we don't have the funds to give them more money because they think that that's going to solve the issue. When oftentimes, from my experience and friends that I talk to, is the money piece isn't the biggest portion. They just want to feel as though their value is being recognized, and they want to have opportunities to grow and earn and learn more tasks and own more things. So I think the biggest thing that I would say is just having a conversation with your employees, having regular check-ins of making sure you're providing them the opportunities to voice when they want to learn new things, when they want to grow, and have that open line of communication.
Welcome to the BetterCulture podcast, where we make the clear connection between BetterCulture and better business. This podcast is for leaders who want to build stronger teams, drive thriving companies, and enjoy your leadership role along the way. Now here's your host, Brett Hoogeveen, a leadership and culture aficionado, keynote speaker, and co-founder of BetterCulture.
Welcome back to the BetterCulture podcast, where we explore how better culture builds better business. And we do it without buzzwords and BS. Today, we're going to flip the script a bit. You've heard culture talked about from consultants, executives, HR leaders, but today, we're going to hear from the other side, from the talent itself. Because let's be honest, culture is really all about talent, attracting it, developing it, keeping it. And today we get to talk to someone who is that talent. Colin Hensel is a young professional who's already lived 2 different workplace lives. One in a toxic culture that drained him, and one in a thriving culture that inspired him to stay, even when another opportunity came knocking. He's thoughtful, self-aware, refreshingly honest, and his story is exactly what leaders need to hear if they want to actually build a place where people want to work. This episode is part gut check, part inspiration, and all about seeing culture through the eyes of the next or the current generation. Let's get into it. Colin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Brett. I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah. Would you just give us a little bit of a background on who you are and your career trajectory so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, I'm Colin. I currently work at a public affairs firm out in Washington, D.C. I've been working there for the last 5 years, primarily do digital advertising on policy-related issues. But my background is largely in the political sphere. I've worked on congressional campaigns, interned in official offices, and then spent just under a year working on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, you've not been a slacker professionally. You've had several interesting opportunities, bounced around, really got started early as well, I believe.
Yeah. I started working full-time before I graduated undergrad because I couldn't wait any longer to start working.
Exactly.
But yeah, always been ambitious, trying to figure out what exactly it was I wanted to do on a career standpoint, and fortunate enough to find a really good place and really enjoy what I do day to day.
Yeah. Did you say, and you're not old enough that you're going to worry about this, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but did I say in my intro how old you are?
No.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 27 years old, just turned 27.
27. Wouldn't we all love to have a 27-year-old rock star wanting to work for our company? So today we're going to talk a little bit about how culture looks like from your eyes. And people know better culture is not, we don't overemphasize differences between generations, but I want this episode to be focused on this up and coming, this younger generation that some people say has different perspectives and different expectations on what they expect from a job, what they want from a job. And so this conversation is going to focus on how one person has personally experienced that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. So as I said in the intro, you've had 2 fairly formative workplace experiences already. One of those early jobs wasn't a great experience. Can you talk a little bit about what made that not a great experience for you, Colin?
Yeah, of course. So my first job, I guess, right out of college, but also while in college, I started working full time in a congressional office on the Hill, and I figured I had made it, and like this is the pinnacle of my career.
Yes, you're inside the halls of power.
Exactly.
Right? At like 20 or something.
just turned 21.
Okay, awesome.
Working. Yeah, I looked about 16 years old, working around. I could very well be a visitor. But I started there, and as you can imagine, incredibly fast-paced, very stressful. Everything is a fire drill or urgent, which is great. On the campaigns, it's how you're set up for. And I thought I was cut out for that and could handle it. And maybe in a sense I could, but I think the culture of the office and the environment, coupled with the workload and the hours that you spent, was just very, very draining.
Sure. And you shared with me that, actually, how about first, give me a few, as specific as you want to get, on the types of things that made that challenging.
Yeah, so I think the biggest piece, right? Everybody was invested or wanted to be part of a team. Mm-hmm. I think, but for the long hours that you put in, the stressful timelines, everything, there was kind of a lack of appreciation for your value add to the organization. Mm-hmm. So your effort, you would work your 50 hours, your 55 hours, depending on the week, if you're in session, if it's recess, you're working really, really hard, but there was never a, hey, I appreciate the work that you're putting in or the time they're doing. It was just, that was the expectation. And then if you faltered even a little bit, or you had to go to an appointment for whatever reason, you would kind of hear about that.
Sure. So much more criticism than appreciation.
Exactly.
Or
yes.
Feeling like you're always under the gun and not always appreciated for it.
Yes. There was a lot of critical feedback with very little positive reinforcement or feedback or appreciation.
Yeah. Anything else that stands out to you, or if you think about colleagues or folks that you worked with that made that a challenging environment?
Yeah. So I grew up, I liken this, I grew up playing team sports, pretty much any team sport you can imagine I played. So I've always had the team player mentality. Doesn't matter if it's not really within my role, I'll step in if I can help out the team. But in this position, there wasn't really an opportunity to be a team player. They kind of, for the most part, you had your role, your couple tasks, and that's what you would do. There was very little opportunity unless you were very high up or higher up in the office of being able to add in a piece of strategic insight or thought.
I see.
I think there was a lot of divide between, you're not in the policy sphere, so I'm not going to listen to recommendations here, or you're not in this sphere, so you can't input here. So then you kind of just become a cog in the machine, right? And you're showing up, you're checking the box on your tasks, and then you're going home as soon as it hits 6 o'clock and you're able to leave.
Sure. Yeah. We talk a lot about when we work with organizations about what you want to do from a leadership perspective and a culture perspective is run your team or your organization in a way that you draw people in and you help them feel like it's their organization.
Exactly.
That they are part of the larger process. Sometimes we call that pulling them inside the tent, really making sure that people feel valued beyond just what their job description says they're supposed to do, that they're part of a broader team. And it sounds like a perfect experience that you've actually experienced. Why that can feel unengaging to be a part of an organization where you're just expected to run the errands or do a specific job, but your ideas aren't asked for or sought for, or you're really not pulled into a broader process.
Yeah, it's hard to then get invested into the work. I think of the office if there's really no upside for you to chime in your thoughts or feedback or strategy.
Another thing we hear a lot is organizations that are building effective cultures really make people feel like their organization wants them to be successful, both personally and professionally. And it sounds like, probably given even a little bit of what that industry and environment is like, there's probably not a lot of time set aside for your personal development and experience, right?
Yes. Yeah. You're behind the curtain and it's great, but you just do the work needed and move forward.
Sure. Okay. So you shared with me that tenure of employees in that type of work environment is not real high. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was about half a year or so.
An average employee stayed for about half a year?
Yes.
Okay. How long did you make it?
I made it just over half a year.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah.
You beat the odds.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. And then, okay, so you moved on to a different type of opportunity. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I moved over to the private sector, as one does. You move from Capitol Hill to the private world.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. And Focus kind of started from scratch again, starting learning new skills, doing digital advertising for corporations, nonprofits, and trade associations. And that was just set up through networking and got connected to a great organization. And I've been there for 5 years, and it's been fantastic.
Fantastic. That's a nice word.
Yes, it is.
What's been so fantastic about it? So again, we're talking to the talent, right?
Yeah.
And you're describing for me what makes a job something that you either love doing or don't love doing or feel connected to and want to stay or think, maybe I've had enough of this, right? So describe for me 5 years. And we're going to talk a little bit about that you've had opportunities to go other places. So let's talk about why you love what you do, why you enjoy the organization you work with. What are the types of things that have kept you connected and engaged?
Yeah, well, I think the easy buzzword is right the culture. I think I remember I've listened to a few of these, and I remember in your first episode you said when you were kind of considering a career change, someone said to you, hey, maybe you should think about the environment that you want to work in rather than the tasks that you want to do on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that's really kept me excited about my work every day. It's the polar opposite of my first job. So where I am now, there's a high level of trust in every one of us that you will be able to own tasks. You will have some autonomy, and you'll be pushed to grow, and you're encouraged to push and grow. But the caveat is you're not going to be left hanging. You're going to be coached along the way. There's going to be help there. So I feel as though the people that I work with are invested in my success, and in turn, it wants me to invest in them and make sure they're able to grow and develop as well, which creates a really good culture for everyone to push themselves, but also having the support needed rather than kind of pushing you out on a little tightrope.
I love that. What else? I don't know how many of these you have in mind.
Yeah.
So you just tell me, Brett, stop. I don't have anything else. But what else makes you feel more committed to your current employer or more satisfied with your current job? What other things come to mind?
There's a regular recognition of work and talent. So we have weekly in-person staff meetings. Everybody goes in the large conference room. We go through kind of any new updates for clients or any new kind of tech that we could use for clients. But at the end of the meeting, we have what's called the Dundee, which is the employee of the week. So someone the week before was nominated, and then each week, the person who had the Dundee the previous week recognizes and thanks someone else on the team for the hard work that they've done, and usually gives specific examples. So even if you don't work on accounts with that person, they're able to get recognition from everyone team-wide.
I know you don't know me that well, but I do this pretty casually. Can I borrow your pen over there, Colin?
Of course.
I want to write down a couple of these good things that you're saying right there. What else? You got anything else that you would say is something, and you can again say, Brett, no, I don't have anything else. But what else makes you happy and connected and committed to your current employer?
So I think it all goes together. These pieces that I've said so far kind of lead towards the investment in each other. But that in turn leads to becoming friends with the people that you work with.
Yeah.
So when you have trust that someone will help you out at work, you work with them closely, regularly, you have a lot of these shared experiences, you obviously become friends. So about half the office came to my wedding when I got married.
Wow.
One of my coworkers was in my wedding. So it creates a really tight bond, and just enjoying the team and the people that I work with, to where, yes, the tasks are pretty standard day to day. It can be a stressful environment still, but you enjoy the people that you work with. You trust the people that you work with, and it makes it fun going to work.
Yeah, I love that. You got anything else? Anything else prepared? Anything else? This is the time you say, no, Brett, I'm tapped out. Or like, no, there's more I've got in mind on what makes me enjoy where I work.
Yeah, I think it's coupled with the people piece. It's just small, thoughtful things that people do. So I started shortly after my birthday, but I had a couple onboarding calls ahead of time. And the two team members that I was starting with, we hopped on an onboarding call on my birthday. This was in COVID, so everything was on Zoom.
Okay.
And I jump on Zoom from my little barely furnished apartment in Arlington. And they had Zoom backgrounds with like confetti and birthday signs and everything.
Really?
So it's just paying attention to the little details and being a good person.
Yeah. Talk about making you feel welcomed.
Exactly.
Right? And that they had actually spent some time focusing on you, not just on them.
Yeah.
What a great message. Very cool. Yeah. Anything else? I'm just going to keep doing it until you say no.
Those are the main ones that I had. I think otherwise I would just be telling stories the whole time.
I love it. Okay. So I took a few notes and I want to pose this sort of as a generational question, and I'll help summarize a little bit here. All right. But one of the things that I hear over and over and over again. In fact, I heard it this morning from one of the leadership folks here at the studio that we record this podcast. They were saying, "I'm glad you're going to have this conversation with the young talent, because sometimes I struggle having conversations with young folks where their expectations for a job are higher than somebody with 20 years of experience on, the clarity with which they're looking for something in a specific job." And we've all heard and seen the data that folks that are in younger generations tend to stay shorter periods of time in jobs. They tend to be more open to moving from job to job, to sort of collecting experience, et cetera. And that's a reality that employers are learning to deal with, right?
Yep.
And to understand that it's not just a seller's market for talent. It's actually a buyer's market for talent as well. If you are talented and willing to work hard and willing to take on challenging projects, there's a lot of employers, a lot of businesses that would love to have you work with them. And that presents optionality. It presents the chance to move. So I know that you shared with me before the interview that not too long ago, within the last couple of years, you were approached about a different opportunity. You were approached to go somewhere else, to move on, and you chose not to. Talk to me a little bit about why. Yeah,
so it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, reached out to do kind of the same work at a larger organization, and had a couple of conversations with them. And when it finally came to it, I decided to stay with where I am for a number of reasons. I love the people that I work with, and I wasn't fully confident that I would have the same growth opportunities at the new organization. While it's a larger place, it still would kind of pigeonhole me into maybe a vertical of I wouldn't be able to kind of explore some other things that interest me on the side of new tasks or new technologies or new skills, and then the people as well. As I talked about, I'm friends with a lot of the people that I work with, and I think leaving that would have been very difficult for me, and that was a big value add for where I was, just the comfort that I had those strong relationships, and I knew that I would have the opportunities to grow if I just spoke up and asked for them as well.
I love that. I'd like you to speak, if you could, for your friends, for your generation. Okay, speak for other folks that are young professionals that are trying to make their way in the professional world, learn and grow themselves, whatever the objectives might be. What are some of the things that you hear from friends, from colleagues, from others about the way they view the work world, or this whole idea of exchanging their labor for some form of reimbursement, which we call a job?
Yep. I think a lot of it the first couple of years, I think you talked about people move around frequently in our generation. I think the first couple of years is really figuring out what we want to do with our lives. You have a idea of, here's a job, this is what we're going to do. And you think of all kind of the happy, exciting things. But I think you don't get the full idea of all the non-fun tasks as well.
Yes.
So I think some of that is getting the feet under and trying to figure out, but I think there also is a desire to learn and grow and do more outside of the role you signed up for. Mm-hmm. So I have friends that work in a sales role, and your job is just kind of going on the road and meeting and doing sales, but they don't really have the opportunity to say, maybe I want to learn some more on the management side of things or admin side of things. And I think that's a big piece. I think a lot of young professionals we don't set out to not be good at our jobs. You want to be good at your jobs, but you want to learn and grow, and you want to be with an organization that shows that they're committed to developing you. And I think if there's not that connection, it makes it easy for them to say, oh, well, maybe the next place will be.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. That's really helpful and interesting. Any other thoughts? I have a few closing comments and things, but before I start to move that direction, anything else on your mind that you think is relevant to this conversation about what employers should know about attracting and retaining young talent?
Yeah, I think I would say the monetary aspect sometimes does not carry the weight that some employers think. So there can be a disgruntled employee maybe, and management may think, oh, well, we don't have the funds to give them more money because they think that that's going to solve the issue. When oftentimes, from my experience and friends that I talk to, is the money piece isn't the biggest portion. They just want to feel as though their value is being recognized, and they want to have opportunities to grow and earn and learn more tasks and own more things. So I think the biggest thing that I would say is just having a conversation with your employees, having regular check-ins of making sure you're providing them the opportunities to voice when they want to learn new things, when they want to grow, and have that open line of communication.
I think that is such a wonderful piece of advice. I love that piece of advice because too often my more senior level friends, colleagues, clients think that it's just about money. You know, they want these younger generations, they want to get promoted faster. They want to negotiate their salaries. They want to, they're going to move to do, for career progression. And in their minds, they're thinking my budget is constrained. I've got other people who have been here 9 years that are at that level, or who are getting paid a certain amount, or who hold a certain title. And if I just try to acquiesce to please these younger folks, to give them what they're asking for, because I want to keep them, they're good people, that creates other downstream consequences of like, well, now you've got a 9-year person that now this person's salary is getting closer to, and now that person might be asking questions. And so there are broader complications to figuring out how do we navigate these waters. And I love what you said right there, which is it's not just about money.
Exactly.
It's not just about title. There are lots of ways that if you have a real human conversation with someone and you let them know, I want to help you grow and develop just as much as I want you to help my business be successful, that you might learn some cross training, or just some time with an executive, or an opportunity to travel, or, fill in the blanks. There's all kinds of things we can do to send a message to our employees, to talent, to say, I'm here for you. I want you to grow. I want you to have a great experience. I want you to develop your skills here.
Exactly.
Right?
And it can be something as simple as like allowing that employee to sit in on larger meetings.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to contribute, but just allowing them to be in on bigger conversations as well to make them feel more invested.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. Okay. I want to do some recap, and then you fill in the blanks. All right. You tell me what I'm missing, what we need to emphasize, et cetera. But I want to reset for those listening. Every organization I talk to says talent is so important. Being able to attract and build and motivate and keep the right people is the secret to their success in business. We've got the talent sitting right here, and we're talking about what does it actually take to convince Colin to want to come work for your organization and to stay there, okay? And these are real things that just came out of his mouth, all right? So if you're a manager, an HR leader, these are things that I need you to be diving down into your organization and saying, how are we doing on this? And so the first and foremost that we talked about a lot is growth and development. I've sat in on, I've observed the advice that new college graduates often get these days, which is, if you want to, by the time you're 30, if you want to be prepared for a high level position, a department head, et cetera, you need to move to 3, 4, 5 different jobs to get a breadth of experience to be prepared for that type of opportunity. And that is rational. I want to say that is rational. If my personal goal is to develop, my skill set, It would be in my interest to take 5 different jobs and stay 2 years each, because I'll be further ahead at that point than I would be if I just work one place and kind of do a similar but evolving job for 10 years, right? So if my goal is to learn and grow and be successful, it makes sense to move jobs. It just does, okay? Now, if you want to counter that, if you want to help someone want to stay longer, make sure that they know, no, we're going to help you grow and develop right here. We've got all those same opportunities to learn and grow right underneath our umbrella, right? And so if we take an interest and we say, come sit in on this meeting, get to know this executive, learn what this department does over here. Let me get you some time with one of our customers. We can create the same growth trajectories inside of our own shops if we'll just make it a bit more intentional.
And I would add that employee would then be better prepared at that organization to take on the higher level roles. They know the company culture, they know the people, and it helps the organization overall.
Yes, and retention studies show that that's how loyalty is actually built. When an employer goes out of its way to help an employee grow and develop, that employee starts to feel a sense of loyalty and obligation to a certain degree, but let's call it loyalty, to want to stay and contribute back, right? You give to me, I feel a reciprocal need to give back, right? So all of these things, if we actually want to look at psychological research and other things, would show you that, yeah, absolutely, that's going to create a sense of like, oh, I want to stay and contribute back to this company that's given so much to me, right?
Yep.
So that's number one. Another thing Colin said is employees want to feel appreciated. They want to feel like the powers that be, the people that are going to the important meetings and making the big decisions, that they see the hard work that they're doing on a regular basis. That their ideas are valued at times, that their effort is valued. And you told me a story both in your dissatisfied experience as well as those team meetings and the shout outs and the things you're doing at your current company, that you said that makes a big difference to me, that I actually feel appreciated.
Yes. It helps you feel that the work that you're doing on a daily basis matters, is valued, and is impactful.
Another thing you talked about is relationships, friends, like just actually having strong, healthy, personal relationships with the people that you work with. I am sad to say that I regularly hear still, it's the vast minority, but I do still regularly hear advice given to people that says, work is work and friends are friends, right? And don't get too close to people that you work with, because they'll let you down, they'll take advantage of you, they'll, if you don't be your authentic self, because they'll use it against you somehow, or they'll, you might have to fire that person someday, or they might have to fire you, or who knows what. And that's really just bad advice when it comes to culture and employee engagement. Whoever is giving that advice, please stop. Build real relationships at work. It's a win-win. It's a win for employees, and it's a win for the company, because the company gets to keep great people because they actually have relationships with the people that they work with.
When I was early on, someone said, gave me the advice of it's great if you can to become friends and friendly with your coworkers, because oftentimes you spend more time with the people you work with than your own family.
Exactly. One last thing is be thoughtful, be human, right? The idea of saying happy birthday in an onboarding call it just makes a great first impression. Do those human things, do those thoughtful things that, again, make people feel welcome and connected. I think, Colin, this has been such a fun conversation because we were able to really dissect talent that's left a job and stayed at a job and why. And it's not complicated, right? They're basic things that we talk about all the time at BetterCulture. Help people feel valued and appreciated. Make sure that your people feel like they're growing and that their organization cares about them, both professionally and personally. Have real relationships. Be thoughtful, be kind. All of these things, they really do make a difference on whether somebody wants to stay or somebody wants to go. So, Colin, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks
I appreciate you putting up with me repeatedly calling you the talent. But I think you are, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
This was a blast. Thank you so much for having me.
Want to take the next step to building a stronger culture? We're offering a free 15-minute BetterCulture strategy call directly with me. We'll take the time to help you identify real opportunities to make your workplace better. No sales pitch, just real advice to help you lead better. Grab your time right now at betterculture.com/free call. Let's make something even better together.